Okay, everybody, I am now live with the former head of PR at Bungie, the voice of the Bobs and Marathon, and I believe currently the community manager for the Fourth Curtain podcast. You can correct me if that's the wrong title there.
No, that is
Um,
correct.
but Doug Zartman, who obviously is involved in kind of this creation of this game that we've all been kind of celebrating for the last maybe 26 hours. I think we've been kind of chipping away here. So thank you so much
So
for
it's a
coming on.
no, delighted to be here. So it's a marathon for you.
Exactly. We're trying to live
Very,
up to the name.
yeah, very meta.
Yeah, it kind of flows in line. Obviously, the new game has the runner concept, so we're keeping everything on the way. Is there anything
Right.
that kind of like 30 years on from you kind of working at Bungie that stands out about the time that you spent working on Marathon?
Oh, it was just such a blast. It was, you know, I obviously had duties during the day, other things to do, but I learned the tools and brought the tools home at night, and it was so much fun just making levels. And I learned then that making a game can be as fun or more fun than playing one. Um, it was just a joy to work with those tools and make spaces and be able to run around in them.
That's amazing. Was that kind of like the
Yeah.
attitude that everyone had at the time? Everyone was kind of working from home, working at the office. It was just like kind of like a passion-driven environment,
Yeah.
or
Oh, totally. Yeah. So I was, as I mentioned to Joku in his interview with me, I was the weird one because I had jobs before,
mm-hmm.
um, and so I was used to going home at like 5 or 6 p.m. And that was just how it worked. And the other guys didn't go home. They may have gone home, for a few hours to sleep, but they lived there, and they were working all the time. Um, Matt Sell tells this story of uh, he lived near the office one time, and for some reason he had to go get something at 2 a.m. And he went by, and Alex was there, like making business calls and just doing, it's nuts how much those guys work. Um, but yeah, I did too, and everyone, I don't know if everyone made maps, but lots of people did, and lots of people got net maps, especially into the game.
Wow. How do you feel like working at Bungie at that time kind of affected your career as a whole? Because obviously, I guess from an outside perspective, looking at the '90s in terms of the games industry, it feels very much so kind of like a Wild West era in terms of now
Oh
everything's
yeah,
very structured and corporate. And
yeah,
and there's a lot of disparity between those things. Did that kind of shape how you wanted to approach your career after that?
yeah. You know, so so when we got acquired, Alex needed all of his headcount for developers, and I was on the publishing side of the business. So I was, um, Bungie didn't need its own PR anymore because Microsoft PR was going to do that. And I interviewed with Microsoft PR, and I didn't like them, and they didn't like me. So it's very, very mutual uh, decision to move on from PR. Um, um, but yeah, I mean, certainly, the design work that I did on Marathon uh, made me, um, very eager to become a designer later in my career. Um, and Alex hired me to be one for Wide Load. And so then I spent the next 15 years being a game designer. Now I've sort of come full circle and have gotten back to, you know, PR and community management and, copywriting and stuff like that. Um, but I still design games. I'm actually off and on making a marathon level
Oh,
uh,
that's awesome.
right now. Yeah, with Aleph One.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and the other tools. Um, so uh, and I really I really need to get back to that because it got pretty far and then I got distracted by other things. But yeah, so I hope to actually get that out and playable for people.
That's amazing. Do you spend a
Yep.
lot of time kind of developing solo projects, or you just spend a lot of time gaming? Are you more so in the development side, or?
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time trying to get a job, but but given how what the video game industry, the shape the video game industry is in right now, I mean, it's awful for especially for an older person like myself. Um, but no, I've so just recently, I played through uh, the first three Halos in the Master Chief Collection,
Okay.
um, on heroic, and that was a slog, man. That was a lot of retries, uh, but it
The
was a
jackals.
blast. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. You know, only grenades work with them, basically. Um, but yeah, that was super fun. Um, and I might even try it again on Legendary. Although I tried a level on Legendary, and that was just it's brutal.
It's awesome to hear that kind of passion for gaming has stuck around for so long. When you guys were making Marathon, did you get this kind of semblance of how kind of passionate and dedicated people were going to be towards it? Was that something that you guys kind of felt in the lead up to its release, or is that something that came
Yeah,
afterwards?
yeah, no, that was very much apparent as soon as we started bringing it to conventions and having people play, you know, betas. Um, Not even betas. I mean, people were playing alphas. But yeah, people were super excited about it. You know, certainly, um, when it was Mac only, it was one of the few shooters, of its kind for the Mac. Um, and so yeah, we knew once once people, Alex took a machine with a build on it to a retail convention, um, and was showing it, to buyers for, Mac Warehouse and whatnot. And overnight he locked it in a closet, and someone broke into the closet and took took his machine, got the build off it, and then circulated it
Oh
online.
wow.
Um, and people were just nuts about it, and I had to I had to explain to folks, who are, you know, chatting with me on like IRC and, CompuServe and whatnot. Um, hey, we really don't like people, you know, we want the game to be pretty stable before it gets out and people are playing it. And people are like, but it's so fun, what's the harm? And so I had to explain that no, it's it's our we have the exclusive right to decide when it's ready to go out. But yeah, we knew. Um, and then there was the August MacWorld show where we were taking uh, pre-orders, um, and we thought the game was going to ship in 2 weeks, and it, it wasn't. It shipped, well, 30 years ago tomorrow,
Oh.
on my birthday. Uh, so yeah, that was fun. We all on the 22nd, the whole office went down to the packing plant where they were, making the discs and the boxes, and we all assembled boxes for a few hours just to try to get a few more, copies of it under the tree.
I in the marathon scrapbook, that's kind of one of the key stories that they kind of outline the marathon, the lead up to that release, is that people were like staying 48 hours, like some sort of absurd
Yeah,
amount of time. What was
yeah.
that period like right prior to its launch like? Was it just exhausting?
Oh,
Is it hard to remember? Or?
yeah. It was just playing it, just playing it, and playing it, and just we for I think you've seen in the scrapbook, our bug tracking system was pizza boxes,
Yeah.
where you would write out bugs, and cross them off as they got fixed. Um, so yeah, there was a lot of really intensive testing, before it went out, but it all worked out. And then I remember the frenzy when we went to Macworld, in January, when it was out, and there was just a sea of people around our booth, and we were, we we made we figured out the taxes so that we could make the price an even $40. Um, and it was just day after day of just, getting copies into people's hands and taking their $40. And, when I went back to the hotel at night, I would have like $800 in cash in my pockets, and everyone did. It was yeah, that was fun. That was super fun.
How obviously the marathon scrapbook, and kind of like for a lot of us who came in later down the road over this 30-year period, were kind of a lot of our entry point for some of the more granular stuff and background information was Hamish Sinclair. How did do you have any memory of how that kind of relationship started, and when you guys noticed him kind of posting things online? Or
Yeah. So Matt had the closest sort of Matt Sell, who was the head of customer service, had sort of the closest contacts. Matt was super online. We were all very online, but Matt was especially so. Um, so yeah, I don't remember how. I don't remember when the story page became like a big thing, but it was not long after shipping, I'm sure. Um, Actually, I suppose I could pull it up and see. Um, so yeah, we were close with Hamish and chatted with him a lot. And the whole sevens. How did that sevens thing start? Um, Greg Kirkpatrick had just a just by chance he used the number seven a lot in the codes that he made, that were coming from Durandal and from Leela and everything. Um, and so I think it was on Hamish's page that either he or some other fan said, "Hey, there's this thing about seven, the number seven with Bungie." Um, and we saw that, and then we, sort of turned around and tried to build things around uh, the number seven and put him in the game just as sort of
wink and
fan
nod.
service. And yeah, exactly. um so yeah, but we had a great relationship with Hamish. And then the other super fans were Miguel Chavez, who we chatted a lot at conventions, um and Claude Herrera, who later went on to run halo.bungie.org. um so yeah, it was really great being able to see people in the flesh, at conventions and tournaments and stuff like that.
How big of a kind of step up was, because it to me, it seems like a very compressed period where you have 1994, 95, 96, where all of this is happening. Did it
Hmm.
feel like a very big step up in between games in terms of popularity? And I mean, I know in the scrapbook it talks about you really bring on one additional person for the second game, and the quality and improvement seems so vast. Did it feel like at the time like it was kind of this big step in this huge growth for the company?
Yeah, I think we brought on more than one for
Oh,
Marathon
okay.
2. Um, Although, I mean, so Rob came in to become our weapons guy, and he has continued to be Bungie's weapons person until he left Bungie about 10 years ago. Um, yeah, we must have I think we started having certainly more customer service people,
Hmm.
um, for Marathon 2. And yeah, it was pretty steady. It felt to me like steady growth. It may have been more fits and spurts, but it felt like certainly, the press, uh, the coverage we could get from the press was growing, and grew a lot with Myth, because Myth was cross-platform. And so, we did Marathon 2 for Windows, but it never really got much of an audience. Um, but then Myth certainly did, and that made my job as a PR guy much easier. Um, because people would give us the time of day.
How do you, I guess, kind of perceive the grander impact of marathon over the past 30 years. I think that it's very unique, it seems, for a video game to have um, such a committed audience for this period of time, especially originating from that period. I feel like obviously there's games like Doom and stuff that kind of have these cult followings, but it feels like there's something very specific about the marathon community and the iterations it's gone through that are still kind of talking and dissecting elements of this narrative and game this far on. That feels unique. Is that something that I don't know, how do you feel about that, being a part of that?
Yeah, I think we had a big advantage in with the first one, it being Mac only, and that gave us a sort of a closed um, garden, right, to grow in. Um, and if we had been cross-platform, from the beginning, maybe that sort of OG marathon fan who was a Mac person um, might have been lessened or not as sort of intense as it was. Um, uh, there's a lot of, I don't know if you've uh, so we have a Discord for the Fourth Carton podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I'm working on. Um, and a lot of people on there are OGs, are almost as old as I am, and people who were playing the original one. Um, so it's really fantastic to see, yeah, people still having a lot of love for the franchise and for those games, this many years later.
How did the because obviously kind of the Bob voice lines are a pretty, I think, big deal in terms of, if you play marathon, something that kind of sticks out in everyone's head. I mean, obviously
Yeah,
must be kind of surreal knowing that millions of people have heard your screams
yeah,
and lines and such. How did
yeah.
that kind of come to be?
I was the only person who had free time to do it. And so, Alex did all of the music on the first one, and he had the microphones and the recording equipment. Um, and you know, and so I was sort of the default choice. Uh, I had done acting uh, in high school, and I had done like a chorus and stuff like that. So I knew how to sort of use my voice, and that was another sort of advantage um, for me doing those lines. But yeah, it was Alex wrote a bunch of lines, and I added a bunch. I'm pretty sure I wrote the line "See a Star Side," which Bungie
Ooh,
still uses as their
yeah,
that's their that's their tagline basically.
yeah.
Um, so I'm pretty sure I wrote it, and I certainly performed it. Um, Bungie now renders it "CU Starside" YOU. When I originally said "See ya Starside," so I think they should go back and fix that. But yeah, I talked to Chris Barrett, and I said, "Hey, can you bring me in to do lines for the new marathon?" And he said, "Yeah, definitely." Um, and so he's no longer with Bungie, but I'm hoping that you know maybe I can get another crack at it with the new marathon.
Was there anything, I guess, I mean, obviously you're kind of limited in how you're able to perform, but when you were kind of approaching the performance, was there any kind of mindset that you had, or any concept of the Bobs that you were trying to portray as you were delivering the lines?
No, not really. I hadn't. I don't think I had seen a lot of the Bobs in game, um, and so I didn't really have any sort of direction on that other than be terrified, be a civilian who's running, for his life from these, you know, homicidal aliens. Um, and so my voice cracked a lot, which, uh, I think added to the sense of intensity from these guys as they're running, screaming. Um, but yeah, I didn't have a lot. And then Alex for the assimilated Bobs. who go crazy from being assimilated and implanted with a bomb. Alex just said, "Say something random, say something nonsensical." And so I just came up with Frog Blast Event Core, and that became the signature, assimilated Bob's line. So that was not written in advance.
Is there anything, I guess, like, kind of at this point, right now we're, like I said, kind of earlier, 30 years on, is there any kind of thing you want to impart, I guess, upon the marathon community? Anything that you wish to make be known about the franchise, your experience with Bungie, and kind of, I guess, the whole
Interesting
process?
Things brings to mind. I would like to finish this level that I'm working on and get it out and get it played by people. That would be really a nice nice
That'd be
thing
awesome.
to a nice accomplishment to get. But no, I mean, thanks for playing. Obviously, is the number one thing. Real gratitude to people for being passionate about it even after all this time, and working on tools, and keeping Aleph 1 updated and usable on modern machines. That's really super gratifying. But yeah, do you know anything about like a ship date for new marathon? Or
I do not.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the last thing that we have is this guy Paul Tassi, maybe. I think he wrote an article about a leak saying that the data files in Destiny 2 indicated that possibly there will be a marathon pre-order attached to the next episode, Heresy, that they have coming up in February, March, maybe, or spring timeframe.
Okay.
But
cool.
Other than that, radio silence, as far as I'm aware.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously, hopefully we get to hear your voice in the game. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you interested in playing the upcoming Extraction? Are you interested to see kind of where they take the universe?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I haven't played a ton of Extraction shooters myself, so it'll be relatively, I'm aware of them, but I haven't played a ton of them, so it'll be interesting to see their take on it.
New experience. Let's see how they expand the world. Maybe some Bobs pop up.
Right. Yeah. Armed Bobs would be cool.
Yeah. Finally, they're fighting back a little bit better this time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Had some time to prepare.
Exactly. Right.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you spending some of your time here with us in honor of this kind of 30 years of marathon. And I appreciate you and everything you did and your work back then.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a good day.
I'll look this up. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye. Bye.